All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a really fascinating one for you today. We're going to take a structured, zoom-in journey, starting all the way up at the macro level with some incredibly high-stakes global geopolitics, and then we'll follow that domino effect all the way down to the micro level, specifically a sudden, highly localized weather event. It's basically the anatomy of a modern news cycle, so let's get right into it. I want to start off with this quote. We will take over their oil and gas exactly like we did in Venezuela. Now, that is a direct, highly aggressive statement from former U.S. President Donald Trump regarding Iranian facilities. And wow, right out of the gate, this hooks us straight into a global geopolitical powder keg. When major political figures talk about seizing energy resources on this massive scale, the entire global market essentially just holds its breath. So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, we're looking at U.S. and Iran geopolitics. Second, Pakistan's economic reality check. Third, the debate over the poverty line. And fourth, a sudden, dramatic storm striking Lahore. Okay, kicking things off with part one, our global focus on the U.S. and Iran. Context here is absolutely crucial. We're talking about a threat of severe, nighttime attacks on Iran, and it carries a very specific strategic aim, seizing control of major oil and gas facilities right there in the Gulf Peninsula. Now, while this kind of extreme pressure campaign is designed to force what's being touted as the best deal in history, the global impact of just the threat itself is immediate. A threat to the Gulf's energy infrastructure is literally a threat to the entire global supply chain. It's a really stark reminder of just how fragile global stability actually is. Moving right along to part two, Pakistan's economic reality check, where we compare the raw data with daily life. So let's zoom in from those global oil shocks down to national economics. The government recently presented the National Economic Survey and dropped a massive number for the scale of Pakistan's economy, $452.1 billion. And this came alongside a highly unexpected GDP growth rate of 3.7%. Now, on paper, these are monumental numbers. It represents the highest growth figure we've seen in the last 4 years, and it's pretty wild because it was achieved despite some really intense external and internal challenges. Now, you're probably wondering, what's actually driving this? Well, there are some very specific, really surprising bright spots. We're seeing the automobile sector surging by a massive 31%. Cement demand is up by 10%, and mobile phone manufacturing saw a 9% increase. And when you anchor all of that with agriculture growing at nearly 3% and services at just under 5%, those are the specific engines that actually push that 3.7% overall growth. But to really understand an economy, we have to look at the whole picture neutrally, right? Because while those growth sectors are genuinely impressive, the fundamental numbers tell a slightly more complicated story. The government's target for industrial growth was 4.3%, but reality hit 3.5%. Even more concerning is the plunging foreign direct investment. We're talking a significant drop from $2 billion down to $1.4 billion. On top of that, exports dropped by about 5 to 6%. So we're left with this fascinating tension. You've got this rosy macroeconomic growth on one side, but missed targets and falling foreign investment on the exact same coin. Which brings us to a really compelling defense of this current economic trajectory. Planning Minister Ahsan Iqbal actually deployed a brilliant sports analogy for this. He stated, "Development is a test match, not a T20. It requires patience and policy continuity." His argument is basically centering on the country's historical lack of stability, suggesting that long-term policy survival is an absolute non-negotiable necessity over quick, short-term political wins. And all of this leads directly into the massive upcoming budget allocations. The scale of this is just enormous. The total new budget is projected to be over 17,500 billion rupees. That comes with a staggering tax revenue target of 12,672 billion. But here is the absolutely crucial squeeze. Debt interest alone is projected to consume 7,824 billion rupees. I mean, think about that. When nearly half of your entire national budget goes straight to paying interest, the math for actual development becomes incredibly tight. Case in point, the proposed development budget sits at just 1,000 billion rupees. Okay, zooming in even further to part three, the poverty line debate. This is all about who is officially considered poor. According to the economic survey we were just talking about, nearly 1 in 4 people nationally currently fall below the official poverty line. But this economic distress is deeply, deeply uneven across the provinces. Look at this breakdown. Balochistan faces a severe crisis with a 47% poverty rate. That's followed by Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at 35%, Sindh at 32.6%, and Punjab at 23.3%. Now, what's really fascinating here is how poverty is actually calculated. It's a stark contrast between the government's threshold and international standards. The government's formula basically suggests that anyone earning more than 8,483 rupees a month is officially not poor. However, if you look at the World Bank formula, they dictate that earning anything less than 35,000 rupees a month means you are poor. That is a massive, massive gap in definition. And here is the shocking reality of that gap. Let's say the government actually adopted that World Bank standard. The official poverty rate wouldn't be 1 in 4 anymore. No way. It would instantly spike to over 50%, over half the country. It really highlights just how absolutely critical data definitions are when you're dealing with real human livelihoods. Finally, let's go all the way down to the micro level. For part 4, a sudden storm strikes Lahore, causing a dramatic shift in the weather. So, shifting gears completely, the meteorological department had forecasted some rain, sure, but the sheer intensity of this event literally took the city by storm. Right after an intensely hot day, there was a sudden daytime darkness, just completely blacked out the sky. Heavy torrential rain and incredibly strong winds swept in, abruptly breaking Lahore's extreme June heatwave. And as you can imagine, citizens breathed a massive sigh of relief as that suffocating heat was finally broken. But nature is unpredictable, right? That environmental relief brought immediate infrastructure chaos. It's a stark illustration of local vulnerability. Almost immediately, electricity feeders tripped, plunging multiple districts straight into darkness. Authorities had to scramble to advise citizens on safety protocols during the intense winds. It's just a crazy micro-level reminder of how quickly our daily, mundane lives can be completely disrupted. So, what does this all mean? We've just zoomed from intense geopolitical threats over in the Gulf, through complex national economic struggles, all the way down to a city losing power from a sudden afternoon storm. It's like a giant puzzle. And the question we really want to leave you with today is this. How do we build true, lasting stability when our daily lives are constantly being squeezed between these massive global forces and very sudden local realities? Think about that. Keep questioning the data and definitely keep seeking the bigger picture. Thanks for joining us for this explainer. We'll see you next time.